I woke up that morning to the smell of burnt toast. It was strange. Normally, I was the one making breakfast. But today? My daughter was already in the kitchen. She didn't look up when I walked in, just kept scraping charred bread into the sink like it had personally offended her. I said good morning. She didn't respond. I stood there for a moment, confused. Then I noticed something by the front door. My suitcase. Packed. Zipped. My scarf tied neatly on top like a bow. My heart sank. Before I could even ask, she turned to me and said flatly, "Mom, we need the space. You've been here too long. It's time." I blinked, stunned. "Too long? I'm your mother." She crossed her arms. "Exactly. And I'm trying to live my own life, with my husband and kids. This isn't sustainable." I wanted to scream, to remind her of the nights I stayed up rocking her colicky son to sleep, of the meals I cooked, the bills I paid, the sacrifices I made so she could finish college, the mortgage I helped cover when her husband got laid off. All of it. But I didn't say any of that. I just stood there, watching as she walked past me, picked up my suitcase, and shoved it into my hands. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said. "We'll call you when things settle down." Call me? I raised this girl. I gave her everything, and now I was just furniture she didn't want anymore? I felt something twist in my chest, but I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just stepped outside. The door clicked shut behind me. Quiet. Final. And as I stood there on the porch, suitcase in hand, I realized something that chilled me to my core. Love doesn't always come back the way you give it. But karma? Karma always finds its way home. The bus ride to the motel was quiet. Too quiet. No kids tugging at my shirt. No cartoons blaring from the living room. Just the hum of the city and the sound of my own thoughts clawing at me. I stared out the window, gripping the handle of my suitcase like it was the last piece of my old life I could hold on to. Was I really homeless now? Not sleeping on a bench? No. But being told, by your own daughter, that you're no longer welcome? That does something to you. It carves out a place inside you that no bed or roof can fill. I checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town, room 204. The walls were thin. The faucet dripped every 4 seconds. The mattress had a spring that dug into my back when I lay down. But the worst part? The silence. There were no little feet pattering down the hallway. No midnight whispers of, "Grandma, I had a bad dream." No morning hugs with sticky fingers and giggles. Just silence, and a stale bag of peanuts from the vending machine downstairs. I kept checking my phone, half expecting a message from her. "Mom, I'm sorry. Come back." But there was nothing, not even a missed call. I was 62 years old. I had spent my entire adult life giving time, giving money, giving love. And now, I was discarded like leftovers in a fridge no one bothered to open. But here's the thing. Something happened in that silence. Something unexpected. I didn't break. I didn't fall apart. I watched myself grow tougher by the day, sharper, calmer. A storm doesn't apologize for destroying what needed to be rebuilt. And in that little motel room, with nothing but peeling wallpaper and a leaky faucet, I started to become the storm. I never thought I'd spend my golden years staring at water stains on the ceiling of a $39 a night motel. The room smelled like old cigarettes and forgotten dreams. The lamp flickered if you breathed too hard, and the heater groaned like it didn't want to be alive either. But that wasn't what broke me. What broke me was brushing my teeth in silence. No little voices knocking on the door. No giggles. No grandma, can I try your toothpaste? Just me. A reflection I barely recognized. I'd look in the mirror and ask myself, how did I get here? How does a woman who raised a daughter by herself, worked double shifts for decades, gave everything she had, end up sleeping between stained sheets and paper-thin walls? And then I'd remember. Because I let people think I'd always be there. Because I never said no. Because I made their comfort my mission and forgot I was a person too. The first few nights, I couldn't sleep. My brain wouldn't shut up. It played back everything, her tone of voice, the way she handed me that suitcase like I was a guest checking out of a hotel. Her husband standing in the hallway, not even making eye contact. Coward. I kept asking myself, was I really a burden? And for a moment, I almost believed it. But then something inside me changed. On the fifth night, I sat up straight in bed. The spring stabbed my spine, but I didn't flinch. I remembered something my mother used to say. When people show you who they are, believe them. My daughter had shown me exactly who she was. Entitled, ungrateful, cold. She wasn't the little girl who used to curl up next to me during thunderstorms. She had become someone else. And if I kept waiting for her to come around, I'd die in that motel room. Number that night, I stopped crying. I stopped wondering. I stopped hoping. Instead, I opened a blank notebook, and I started to write. Not a letter, not a diary, a plan. Because if they thought they could throw me away, they clearly forgot who raised them. It had been 3 weeks since the suitcase. 3 weeks of instant noodles, vending machine coffee, and pretending the dripping faucet didn't sound like a countdown. I hadn't spoken to anyone in days, until that Tuesday afternoon, when I wandered into Ruby's Diner, an old spot I used to take my daughter to when we could barely afford fries to share. Funny how life circles back. I sat in the far booth, same seat as always, window to the street, one fork, one napkin, one invisible woman. But then, someone said my name. Elaine? I looked up. It was Mr. Hill, John Hill, my old neighbor from 3 doors down. He used to mow his lawn in perfect lines and bring my daughter lemonade on hot summer days. And now? He was older, grayer, but still had that polite smile, like everything was going to be just fine. Is that really you? He asked, stepping closer. What are you doing here? I laughed, but it came out cracked. Trying not to starve. He frowned. Where have you been? I haven't seen you around the house in months. I sipped my coffee slowly. Then I told him. Everything. How my daughter kicked me out. How I ended up at the motel. How no one, not her, not her husband, had reached out. Not once. He didn't interrupt. Didn't pity me. He just listened. When I finished, he leaned forward and said something I didn't expect. Elaine, I don't want to overstep, but I need to tell you something. He lowered his voice, glanced around like we were sharing state secrets. They're selling the house. I blinked. What? Your daughter and her husband. They've been in financial trouble again, behind on payments. Quietly reached out to some buyers through my office. It hasn't hit the public market yet. I stared at him. Selling the house? The same house I helped pay for? The same one I practically built a life in. Bedtime stories, birthday cakes, scraped knees and spilled juice? I'm their agent, he said softly. But between us, if someone were to make a clean offer, fast, quiet, no questions, they'd take it. I felt something shift inside me. Something deep. Something dangerous. I looked out the window at the life I'd once built and the people who threw me out like trash. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel powerless. I felt awake. John, I said, meeting his eyes. Tell me exactly what I need to do. That night, I didn't go back to the motel. I went to the bank. It had been years since I touched the account my late husband left me. I kept it sealed, like a time capsule, emergency only. Well, if being thrown out by your only child doesn't count as an emergency, I don't know what does. I sat across from the banker, calm as a surgeon. I need a cashier's check. Full amount. He raised an eyebrow. All of it? I nodded once. All of it. By morning, I had a check in my purse and a different kind of fire in my chest. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. Because while they thought they'd exiled me, they had no idea I still held the keys to the kingdom. I called John. I want the house, I said. I want it clean, quiet, no back and forth. He hesitated. You're sure? I was more than sure. I was done playing the fool. Within 48 hours, it was done. Offer submitted, accepted. No name, no face, just a faceless buyer from out of town with a fast deal and full cash. They never saw it coming. 3 days later, I stood on the sidewalk across the street, watching as a sold sign went up in their yard. My yard. I could see my daughter through the window, brows furrowed, phone pressed to her ear, pacing. I wondered what the realtor told her. Maybe that the buyer wanted the house vacant in 30 days. Maybe that they weren't open to negotiation. Maybe that Karma had excellent taste in real estate. I didn't smile. Not yet. This wasn't about gloating. This was about restoring balance. The daughter who shoved me out was about to find out who she'd really been dealing with all along, and I wasn't done. Not even close. 30 days. That's all they had. 30 days to pack up their lives and move out of my house. I waited 29, not because I was afraid, because I wanted her to feel the clock ticking, wanted her to feel what I felt when she handed me that suitcase. Unwanted, disposable, forgotten. But unlike her, I wasn't going to shove a bag into her arms. I was going to deliver the truth, face to face. On the 30th day, I dressed in my best coat, the one with the high collar and strong shoulders, the one I wore the day I paid off their second mortgage without telling them. That day, I saved their home. Today, I was taking it back. I walked up the steps slowly, each one steady, measured. I knocked once, then again. Footsteps. The door creaked open, and there she was, my daughter, hair tied in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes, a baby crying in the background, her husband somewhere out of sight, probably avoiding it, like always. When she saw me, her face twisted in confusion. Mom? I tilted my head slightly. I heard you're moving, I said coolly. She blinked. How do you know that? I make it my business to know what's happening with my property. There was a beat of silence, and then it hit her. Her lips parted. No. Oh, yes. I reached into my purse, pulled out the notice, and handed it to her like a gift. Official, signed, stamped, eviction. Not by a stranger, not by the bank, by me. She stared at it like it was written in another language. You bought the house? I smiled, but it wasn't warm. It's always been mine, darling. You just forgot whose name was written on the foundation. Tears welled up in her eyes. Mom, please, we have nowhere to go. I didn't flinch. I'd heard that tone before. I used to run to her when she cried, fix everything, but not this time. Neither did I said softly. You remember? Motel 204, stains on the ceiling, cold coffee, no grandchildren to hug goodnight. Her lip trembled. Please, the kids. I sighed, not out of pity, but because she still didn't get it. I'm not doing this to punish you, I said. I'm doing this so you finally understand what it feels like when the person you love most forgets you're human. She said nothing, just stood there, holding that paper like it might burn her hands. And I turned, walked down those steps, each one lighter than the last, because for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't the one being left behind. It didn't take long. By the end of the week, everyone knew. The whispers started at church, then at the grocery store. Then even the mailmen started slowing down near their porch, pretending to check the mailbox twice. People love a scandal, especially when it flips the script. A mother kicked out of her own daughter's house, then buys it back and evicts them? It was like something out of a movie, but I wasn't interested in gossip. I was watching something else happen, the unraveling. Her friends stopped coming by. The neighbor across the street, the one who always waved at her? Now he just turned away. Even her in-laws, who once treated me like wallpaper, called to ask what happened. And I told them every detail. I wanted the truth out there, not for revenge, but because for years I let people paint me as the dependent one, the aging mother, the extra mouth, the one lucky to have a roof over her head. But now, the roof was mine, and the story was finally mine too. One afternoon, I got a call. It was my daughter. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Mom. Her voice was tired, hoarse, smaller than I'd ever heard it. We're staying with Mark's cousin in a one-bedroom. The kids are sharing a mattress on the floor. Silence. Then, why are you doing this? I closed my eyes. She still didn't get it. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. You did this to yourself. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences. A long pause, then a whisper. I didn't think you'd fight back. I almost laughed. You should have known better, I said. I raised you, didn't I? And for once, she didn't have a comeback. She just cried. Not loud, not performative. Just quiet, broken sobs on the other end of the line. I didn't hang up. I listened. Because deep down, I wasn't heartless. I was hurt. I was healing. But most of all, I was done being silent. The house was silent when I got back. No kids running through the halls. No laughter echoing from the kitchen. Just the soft hum of the air conditioner and the faint click of the clock ticking in the living room. I stood in the doorway, watching it all. This house. My home. It felt different now. Not just because I owned it, but because, for the first time in forever, I wasn't the one who was always giving. I let the silence sit with me for a while. Then, the phone rang. It was her again. I didn't pick up at first. I wasn't sure I was ready to talk. After everything, being pushed out, left to rot in a motel room, it was hard to find that same woman I used to be. The one who would drop everything to rush to her side when she cried. But the phone kept ringing, and finally, I answered. Mom, she said, voice trembling. Please, I need you to listen. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. I knew what this was, the apology, the regret. But I didn't know if I was ready to hear it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was wrong. I've been wrong for a long time. I don't know what happened. I never thought I'd be the one to hurt you. Her voice cracked. I was scared, okay? Scared that I was turning into you, that I was becoming you, just waiting for someone to take care of me. And I didn't want to become that. I was too proud, too ashamed. I stood there, hearing her words, but they didn't soften the ache inside. No, I said quietly. You were never me. You were always you, and that's what broke me. I didn't mind taking care of you. I would have done it forever. But you... I stopped myself, not wanting to let the anger spill out. She waited. I could hear her breathing through the phone, waiting for me to continue. But I didn't. I just stood there, staring at the empty space where our family used to be. Finally, I spoke. I'm not sure if I can forgive you. I'm not even sure if I should. There was a long pause. I don't expect you to, she said. But if you can, if you're even willing to, just tell me what to do. What do I need to do to make this right? I stared at the floor. I had spent my entire life telling her what to do. Now, the question was, what did I need to do? Maybe what you need to do is realize that I'm not the one who's supposed to fix this, I said, my voice shaking just a little. Maybe you need to fix it yourself. For you, for your kids, for your husband. Because I've done my part. I've given everything. She cried again. I waited, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to rush to her side. For the first time, I let her feel the weight of what she had done. The days passed in a blur after the phone call. I stayed in my home, our home, though it didn't feel like it anymore. The walls were silent. The rooms felt cold. The photographs on the mantel seemed like relics from a different life, a life I barely recognized. And then one morning, there was a knock at the door. I didn't have to ask who it was. I knew. I opened the door slowly, heart pounding in my chest. There she was, my daughter. Standing on the doorstep, hair a mess, clothes wrinkled like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red from crying. She looked tired, small, fragile. "Mom, can we talk?" she whispered. I stepped aside, letting her in, but I didn't say a word. I led her into the living room, where the light from the window cast long shadows across the floor. We both stood there in the quiet for a moment, the weight of everything between us like a thick fog. Then she spoke, her voice shaking. "I've been to therapy," she said, looking down at her hands. "I'm working on myself. I know it's not enough, but I'm trying. I swear I said nothing. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if she knew what to say." "I was scared, Mom," she continued, her voice breaking. "I thought I was losing everything, my marriage, my kids, my life, and I didn't know how to fix it. I pushed you away because I thought I was better off without you, but I was wrong. You've always been there for me, and I've treated you like you didn't matter, like you were just an afterthought. And that's not fair. I know that now." Her voice faltered. "Please. I'm sorry. I need you. I don't know how to do this without you." I stood still, listening to the woman standing before me. This woman who had once been my little girl, the one I held in my arms when she was sick, the one I comforted after every heartbreak. But this time, I wasn't the one who needed comfort. I wasn't the one who needed to apologize. After a long silence, I spoke. "You're right," I said softly. "You do need me, but that's not the problem. The problem is that I've needed you for so long. I've needed you to see me, to hear me, to care for me like I cared for you." I paused, the pain of it catching in my throat. "I gave everything for you. And all I asked for was a little respect, a little gratitude. But I didn't get that. What I got was rejection. And not just from you, from your husband, your friends, even your family." She reached out, her hands trembling. "Mom, please, I don't know what else to say. I am sorry, but I need you. I can't do this alone." I looked down at her hands, trembling with desperation. She was reaching for me, but was it too late? I felt the weight of the question hang in the air. Could I forgive her? Could I let the past go, move on from the hurt and the anger, and take her back into my life? Or was this the end? I stepped back, my heart heavy with the decision. I knew the answer, and it wasn't easy. I'm not sure, I said slowly. I'm not sure I can forget how you treated me, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see if you can prove to me that you're ready to be the daughter I need, not just the one you think I want. Tears welled up in her eyes. I will, I swear, Mom. I'll do whatever it takes. I nodded, but there was no rush to embrace her. Not yet. Not until I saw real change. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Not for the past, but for the future. The weeks that followed weren't easy. We talked, we argued, we cried. But this time, it felt different. There were no more lies, no more pretending. We both finally heard each other. I began to see the woman I had raised, not the angry, defensive person who had rejected me, but someone who was truly vulnerable. Someone who was willing to face her mistakes head on. And maybe I could learn to forgive. But forgiveness, as I had come to understand, wasn't something that came in one moment. It took time. I kept my distance. Slowly, cautiously, I allowed her to prove that she could be the daughter I needed her to be. Not just for me, but for herself. She started showing up, not because she needed something, but because she wanted to be there. She brought the kids over for short visits. She started sending me texts, just to ask how I was doing. Small things, but they made all the difference. And over time, something in my heart began to shift. I watched her grow, not just as a mother, but as a woman who was learning to take responsibility for her actions. She apologized again, more than once, but I didn't need the apologies anymore. I needed change. And she was giving it to me, slowly but surely. One afternoon, after a long day, I was sitting on the porch, drinking my tea, when I saw her walk up the driveway. She had her kids with her, and they were laughing, chasing each other around the yard. "Hey, Mom," she said, her voice light but sincere. "We brought dinner. Thought you might like a break tonight." I smiled, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I truly felt content. I wasn't just watching her from a distance anymore. We were actually sharing moments again. As we sat together that evening, eating dinner and talking about everything and nothing, I realized how far we had come. We still had a long way to go, but we were finally on the same page. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. "Mom," she said as the sun began to set, "I know I can't undo the past, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." I looked at her. The woman who had once pushed me away. The woman who had broken my heart. And now, the woman who was standing in front of me, ready to build something new. "Neither am I," I said softly. For a moment, there was nothing but the sound of children laughing in the background and the soft rustling of the wind in the trees. It was enough. It was everything. And I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. It's been a year now. A year since everything changed. A year since I took that final step. The one where I stopped holding on to the past and started looking toward the future. A year since I stood in front of my daughter and said, "I'm willing to try." The house is different now. It's warmer, fuller. It feels like a home again, not just a place to sleep at night. The walls, once silent, now echo with the sound of laughter. The kids run through the living room, chasing each other, just like they did when they were younger. And every now and then, I'll catch my daughter looking at me with this soft expression, almost like she's still surprised I'm here. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. One afternoon, not long ago, she pulled me aside while we were sitting in the garden. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over everything. "Mom," she said quietly, "I wanted to thank you." I raised an eyebrow. "For what?" She smiled, though it was a little sad. "For not giving up on me. For not leaving when I pushed you away." I looked at her, this woman who had once made me feel like a burden, now standing in front of me with nothing but honesty and love in her eyes. "You never had to thank me for that," I said softly. "I never left because you're my daughter. I don't walk away from family." Her eyes shimmered with tears, but she didn't cry. She didn't need to. She knew. She understood now. "I get it," she whispered. "I finally get it. All those years, all the sacrifices you made. I was so blind. I didn't see how much you loved me, but I do now. And I'm so sorry for everything I put you through." I reached out, gently taking her hand. "You don't have to apologize anymore. We've both learned a lot. We've come full circle. And that's what matters now." And it's true. We'd come full circle. The daughter who once pushed me away, the daughter who thought she didn't need me, had finally come back. She was no longer the little girl who needed protecting. She was a woman, a mother, and a daughter who understood what it meant to give and to receive, to love and to be loved in return. In the quiet moments, when I watch her with her children, I can see the mother she's becoming, the one I always knew she could be. I know we still have a long way to go. There will be more challenges, more bumps along the road, but the difference is, this time, we're doing it together. We're not alone. We never will be again. And as I sit here, looking out over the garden, the kids laughing in the background, I realize something. Sometimes, it takes losing everything to find out what you really have. Sometimes, it takes the pain of being pushed away to see just how strong you really are. And most importantly, sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom to realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're thriving. We're thriving. And for the first time in a long time, I feel truly at peace.